Okay, hello everybody and welcome to part one of our two-part series, RealFlow meets Maxwell Render. Due to a couple of technical issues related to the recording of this webinar, we have re-recorded the first part. However, we will try to make it as close to the original as possible, and what you are seeing now is essentially what the attendees saw during the live session. We will be taking you through some of the benefits of pairing our definitive fluid simulation software, RealFlow, with our industry-standard rendered solution, Maxwell Render. We will also take this opportunity to explain about the RealFlow RenderKit, an invaluable tool for rendering RealFlow fluids. My name is Kate Norris, and your presenters today will be RealFlow and Maxwell Production Specialist Victor Sanchez and Maxwell Production Specialist Dario Lanza. We will start with a brief bit of product background, and then I'll hand over to Victor, who will start by covering the fundamentals of Maxwell Render and move on to some of the standard meshes and the RealFlow RenderKit, and finish off with some pipeline integration. Then he'll come back to me for a quick roundup. If you have any questions or require more information, please visit our website. So, just a bit of background. RealFlow and Maxwell Render are products developed by Next Limit Technologies. This Spain-based company has become internationally renowned for its pioneering cutting-edge simulation technologies. RealFlow was the first simulation solution created by Next Limit Technologies and rapidly became the definitive tool for creating flawless, large and small-scale fluids and dynamic simulations in a position it has retained for over 10 years. It has the capacity to simulate anything from a single drop of water to an entire ocean and anything in between. RealFlow clients range from students to freelancers to some of the biggest post-production studios, and here you can see a sample of the clients. Maxwell Render is an industry-leading photorealistic renderer which has gained a reputation for high-quality finishes. With the improvement in version 2.6, Maxwell is now, more than ever, a serious option for VFX users, as it offers the flexibility that you need when integrated into virtually any pipeline and any environment. And here you can see a sample of our clients. And now, I will hand you over to Victor, who will be taking it from here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us at the second RealFlow webinar covering the topic RealFlow meets Maxwell Render Part 1. Dario Lanza, part of the Maxwell Render team, is right here with us, and he's going to provide us with some interesting comments and tips all along this presentation based on his expertise and vast knowledge of this software. I'm very, very happy to have you here right with us, Dario. How are you today?
Fine, Victor. Glad to hear you and longing to start this RealFlow meets Maxwell webinar. And I hope everybody have fun and find this as interesting as I do.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get straightforward into the meat of the matter. But first things first, let me show you a very, very quick overview pointing out the different topics that we'll be dealing with in this webinar. We'll begin with a very, very first approach at some different ways to render RealFlow stuff using Maxwell. We'll take a walk through the Maxwell render concept and its basics to completely understand the usual workflow and a very, very quick UI overview with the most important parameters to realize what's going on when we render something. We're going to take a look at all of these, most of them, a few controls that we have here. Later on, we're going to take a look in detail at some interesting materials applied to a probably well-known scene for most of you, and try to understand how these materials interact with the geometry in the environment. This is the brain splash scene that most of you will be familiar with, but certainly we could be another variations or another different versions of that scene. This is one of my favorite, definitely.
Really cool.
Yes, it is. The Dexter style, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Later on, we're gonna take a. We will break down this is the scene completely rendered with the RealFlow RenderKit for Maxwell render using strictly particles. In the previous case, we were going to use RenderKit mesh, but in this case, we're going to use particles for both the fluid of this champagne glass and the bubbles inside the fluid itself. I just to make it sure, Dario, can you confirm it? Can you verify you can see these bubbles coming from?
Yeah, they are clearly visible in the image. We can see the bubbles going up, and the look is great.
Okay, we also got some condensation right here in some areas. Okay, some different areas here.
And it's interesting how easy this realistic look can be achieved with Maxwell.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very easy, very straightforward. So finally, we're going to take a look at other interesting tools that may be useful for all of you who are dealing with fluids and RealFlow stuff in general, especially in production environments such as particle mapping and magnitude connections. For instance, we have this scene right here that is very nice. In this case, we're projecting a texture over the UV's map of the particles, but we could make in a similar way we could make a connection between the magnitude such as age, velocity, for instance, and we could add a gradient to control these values such as age or velocity, and control them with a gradient texture. And it's a very, very interesting and powerful tool.
Yeah, it's really interesting because most often you don't want all your particles to have the same colors or things like that, and you need to map some particular characteristics of them to a ramp or things like that.
Yeah. We're also going to take a look at some different customization parameters, how to customize our output for all of you, once again, who are working in production environments. And we also take a very, very sneak peek, very quick view at the different options for using with rendering, with render files, with render managers, and things like that. Okay, no more PowerPoint at this presentation. So in this case, I'm going to use Maya, but keep in mind that the materials and the render options and the cameras, the lights, all of that Maxwell stuff is going to be exactly the same in other 3D packages. Okay, so I'm going to run Maya this time, but if you are dealing with 3ds Max, Houdini, or other supported 3D platform.
That is true. In fact, Maxwell has compatibility plugins with 15 of the most commonly used 3D platforms in the industry. So covering from Houdini, Maya, Lightwave, Softimage, 3D Max, Cinema 4D, Fonset, ArchiCAD, Model, SketchUp. We're covering a wide field of 3D platforms on any of the, almost any 3D user can render their scenes with Maxwell.
Oh yeah. So also we provide our 3D studio or 3D application, right, which is Maxwell Studio, but in the 99% of the time we were going to be strictly focused in right inside our 3D package. Also interesting to note that all of those connectivity plugins that you mentioned about are absolutely free, right? Once you get one Maxwell license, you have access to the gateway and you are able to download the free plugins for all of that platforms, right?
Yeah, that's true. With the Maxwell license, you get the installer of Maxwell, and you also get free access to download the 3D plugins to connect Maxwell to your 3D application. So instead of purchasing a particular license for any particular 3D application, instead of that, you get Maxwell installed in your computer and you get free access to the 3D plugins for the application you are currently running.
Awesome. Here we can find, in my case, in the case of Maya, here we can find the Maxwell plugin that I have to load in order to take advantage of its functionality. And from all of the different options, rendering options, obviously we will have to select Maxwell Render. Okay, so in this case we're going to start. Let me bring a real wave, for instance, this one. This is a common geometry. Well, this is a bunch of faces that we have right here. It's very easy to add a Maxwell material to any geometry, exactly the same way as we'll do in any other case. We're going to add a new material, and we're going to assign a Maxwell material. In this case, in Maya, Maxwell layer material, taking advantage of the different layer stacking options. So I'd say in the most of the cases, we're going to deal right here with the Maxwell layer material. I have added to my favorites actually, and we can also obviously right-click and assign the material, the Maxwell material, if it's already done or create from scratch. But in my case, I also created an icon right here in itself. So just on one single click, boom, you're done. And here is our Maxwell material patterns recently created. So once again, keep in mind that all of these parameters that you have right here are exactly the same in your 3D package, in 3ds Max, Houdini, Maya, Lightwave, whatever.
And it's also interesting to remark that Maxwell materials are only one material definition, only one single material shader to create any of the materials that you have that you can find in nature. So instead of having dozens of different shaders like we are used to use until now, Maxwell uses one single material definition to create any surface that you can have in nature. So it is great how easy your material setup becomes just having one single shader.
Yeah, exactly. Let me open up Fire, which is this interactive view. This is the default sky, the default physical sky that we're going to find every single time we build a new scene from scratch. Is set by default. So let me make a very, very quick test with this Maxwell material for this real wave. I have not, it's important to remark that I have not deal with any render settings at all. This is a scene from scratch with a real wave added. So in this case, I'm going to open the Maxwell render options, which is very, very simple. Just a few minor popular and common options that may only understand rapidly. And in this case, this is where the physical sky is located. But let me select the real wave, and in the material of this real wave, let me apply, for instance, a something like a ocean. Let's going to say, to work with absolute values, let's say something like pretty much like that.
it is great. You get a wizard that helps you to create the most common materials. So if you don't want to learn creating materials from scratch, you have that very helpful wizard that provides you with the most commonly used materials you will use in your projects.
Definitely. So let me close Fire, the interactive rendering window, and I'm going to rename this material to something like ocean or something like that. Let me hide the this railway for a while, and I'm going to import, for instance, a statistical spectra that I previously created. Is important number of faces we're talking about in this case, pretty much 385,000 faces. So I'm just going to once again right-click, assign a new material, ocean, the material that I previously created, and in this case I'm going to launch a production render. So I'm going to hit render, and Maya, in this case via the plugin, is going to invoke Maxwell render, which is this window that we have right here. And once again, I have not been dealing with sampling algorithms, other strange concepts or mathematical concepts that
both bounces or photons or things like that.
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with that.
Exactly. I have never ever change or tweak or touch any render value option in this scene.
And take a look at that cool
in a few seconds.
Take a look at that cool depth of field that you get naturally from the camera response. Just adjusting the diaphragm to get a wider or shorter depth of field, and in a few seconds that you are commenting, you are getting that nice look in less than 1 minute. Nice. So it's
nice.
Really great.
Roughly 43 seconds.
It's looking definitely like an ocean.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very beautiful. Okay, let me delete this guy for a moment. I'm going to once again remember that we're dealing with let's say roughly 400,000 polygons, and definitely Maxwell in a few seconds can voxelize the scene and calculate the internal resources to deploy this very, very interesting image. Let me bring back the circular real wave, and in this case, the quality of Maxwell render, keep in mind that can provide a RealFlow staff with the best photorealistic look in a very, very simple, straightforward workflow. But something really cool about this render engine is that most of the time you don't need to deal with the render settings because it's all in ambient occlusion, caustics, things like that. For instance, if your light and geometry should generate caustics, it's not necessary to specify neither in the material nor in the render settings any additional command to create caustics. Maxwell is going to generate them or not, depending on the behavior of the light, exactly the same way as in real life. It's all in. So in this case, I'm going to create a new material. And once again, I'm going to use the insert, and I'm going to say, I'm going to specify that I want water. Okay, so let me launch your render. And in this case, you will see these very, very nice caustics.
Wow.
5, 6, 7 seconds. It's very, very interesting, and in this case, once again, you don't need to deal with hidden menus or you know, strange options or things like that.
Yeah, this is the great concept in Maxwell, that you don't need a panel, plenty of controls about the sharpness or blurriness or accuracy of that caustics. Like in the real world, when you are taking a real photograph, caustics are a consequence of the characteristics of this material and the characteristic of the lighting in the scene. And this is the philosophy behind Maxwell. Those castings are the results of your condition in the scene. So everything gets really intuitive using Maxwell. It's really easy to use.
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, I'm going to have a real wave, and here we can take a look at the first concept, the RealFlow RenderKit meshes. We're going to take a look at that. Right inside the RealFlow scene, I have previously simulated a circle emitter, causing particles, and in this case we have the ability of take advantage of the multi-threaded RenderKit meshes right here. Apart from the old traditional style of the standard meshes, we offer right inside RealFlow the possibility of build RenderKit meshes. The cool thing with the RenderKit meshes is that you can see in the right directly here, right inside the viewport, you can see the shape or the appearance of how the mesh is going to be revealed in just a few seconds. In this case, let me get rid of this guy.
Yeah, it's really fast.
It's really fast. I mean, in just probably 4, 3, 5 seconds, something like that. Let's move on again. You're going to achieve the final result right inside the viewport, and you're going to be able to deal with this geometry in your 3D platform. It's not necessary to have a RenderKit license to render this mesh. It's not necessary to have RenderKit license to render these RenderKit meshes. And once again, they are multi-threaded. They're quite fast. These mesh, maybe let's go ahead and try one of these last ones. Maybe something like here. And we're going to be, you will see that in probably a few seconds, 3, 4, 5 seconds,
wow,
you're going to deal with a 400,000 faces geometry. And once again, the cool thing is that this is geometry. This is something that we can fine-tune with Maxwell Materials. We're going to see later that we could add a light source to this geometry right here. And for instance, if we want to create things like lava or something like that, this is a Maxwell, this is a RenderKit mesh with a light source applied onto it, and we can get this very nice effect with motion blur, etc.
Yeah, another amazing thing is that you can apply any Maxwell material to the meshes that you are generating in the RealFlow. So exactly, you are not limited to anything. You can apply an emitting material, a surface scattering matter. You can apply a metal. You can apply any Maxwell material to the surface you are creating.
Okay, I'm going to let me let me close the Messenger application. And I'm going to jump back over Maya. And for instance, let me show the geometry of this mesh. We can import the meshes exactly the same way as if we're dealing with a RealFlow standard mesh. Just right here, they're big meshes. So just click on here, select the sequence, and you're done. Let me apply a new Maxwell material to this guy. As Daniel said, you can count on the wizard. Let me strongly recommend you guys to take a look in detail at the wizard tool, because it's a really fantastic tool for creating basic materials that we will be able to fine-tune up afterwards. Most of my materials are directly built over the base of materials created directly with the wizard tool.
Very handy.
very handy, and the thing is that you can use these materials as a base. Obviously, you can fine-tune up afterwards, but this is very cool to as a starting point. Okay, let's try some sort of aluminum, something like that. That is really cool.
Yeah, I've been always amazed by the cool look that the fluid simulation have inside RealFlow, and I'm longing to watch them being rendered with physically accurate illumination in Maxwell. Wow, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool, and once again, just a couple of clicks, in a few seconds, you get roughly the idea. Just I say this sky right here is pretty much clean, and you don't have, once again, you don't have to deal with the number of reflections or the refractions or the high complexity materials concepts or something like that. It's really nice. So, for instance, keep in mind that you also have the ability to deal with specifically fluid materials right here.
Oh, nice.
In the preset, see, things like honey, chocolate, milk, dilute milk, two kind of orange juice, things like that. This is a very nice collection of materials, and also you can deal with the materials that you will find in the library. We have a very interesting samples here, and this, I really do love the car paint, and also very last but not least, very important, the gallery. That this is the contributive effort work of
this is definitely one of the key points in Maxwell. It's amazing and huge material collection that you can have for free. Currently we have more than 4,000 materials that you can get for free. You download it and you can use it directly in any of your projects. They are obviously open, so you can fine-tune them. You can use it as they are, but you can change anything.
Yeah, we're talking about very high quality materials, right?
Yeah. Completely photorealistic, completely physically correct, and in a couple of clicks you get very nice material ready to use in your projects.
Very nice. How many materials do we have in the gallery?
More than 4,000. So it's hard to think about a material that is not currently available in the gallery.
Wow.
I cannot think about a material that is not currently there, and it is growing up each and every day. So every day the material gallery is getting bigger, because, as you are commenting, is the collaborative effort of many users that every day share their coolest material to the community.
Very nice, very nice. So let's take a look at some different concepts that we must understand before going ahead. You will have noticed that every single time that I hit, let me, for instance, I love the definitely I love the wizard. Let's bring some water here, for instance. You will have noticed that every single time that I hit the render button, the 3D package, in my case, is invoking Maxwell render automatically. And we can see how Maxwell render is working all the process, cleaning up the noise in this sort of iterations that we can call samples or sampling level. We have this sampling level SL right here. The higher is the sampling level, the cleaner is the image. And we can set a desired sample level or a desired amount of time with the plugin. Maxwell Render will stop at the first code reads, for instance. let me stop this guy here. Once again, 41 seconds. Now dealing with strange params right inside the material. And we have
this
our
is amazing.
castings.
You didn't have to deal with refraction, with bounces, with things like that. You applied a water material that you can create from scratch, or you can use the wizard or anything like that, and hit render in the camera, and you get that in a very natural way.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the facts of dealing between RealFlow and Maxwell. Take into account that in RealFlow we build our, this is a RenderKit mesh. So we build in RealFlow the RenderKit mesh in 3 seconds, 4 seconds. We build our water material in roughly 1 second, something like that. And in just roughly 40 seconds, we have a very, very nice view of the render, pretty much quite clean. I mean, very nice without the need of fine-tuning up or dealing with materials or something like that. It's very nice. Of course, if I want this water to be much more obscure, or if I want to change the index of refraction, or if I want to tint the water with any sort of color, I will be able to do that. But definitely is very, very well oriented at the productivity. Let me pick up where I left off. Talking about the sampling level and the minutes. Here is where we can specify how long or how much time, how long do we want our render to be processed, or a determinate sampling level. Let's keep a very, very low sampling level, something like 6, for instance. I'm going to take a notice to apply to play a little bit Maxwell, to apply a new different material. For instance, 1, 2, 3 clicks, and maybe, let's say, I don't know, something like that. Let's see. Okay, so in this case, I just select a very, very low sampling level and 30 minutes. So in this case, the render is not going to last 30 minutes. The render is going to last roughly 15 seconds or something like that, because the sampling level 6, the desired sampling level 6, is going to be our first goal.
Yeah, in fact, you have to set both parameters, and Maxwell will start rendering and will stop when the first of those parameters is reached. So if the time is the first parameter that is reached, it will stop at this moment, or it will continue until the sampling level you indicated is also reached.
Yeah. In the other hand, in the opposite way, if I go for 1 minute or a sampling level of 12, obviously the first goal is going to be the time. So in this case, Maxwell render will take 1 minute to definitely create a very, very nice, very smooth image, very clean image. So
and it's great how clean the image is in just 1 minute. So there are a lot of geometry there. There are a lot of triangles in that scene, and you are rendering that fast, and you are getting that result in 1 minute with a regular computer. You are not at this moment using a very strong computer, but a common desktop. And
yeah,
it is amazing you are getting it in 1 minute.
Yeah, definitely. If you are wondering what kind of machine am I using, a super computer with hundreds of cores and different GPUs and something like that, no, I'm dealing with a very domestic machine. This is just a simple quad-core machine. It's 4 cores, multi-thread, 8 threads. And so once again, you don't need a super high performance computer, at least to get started with Maxwell. Definitely the higher are the possibilities of your CPUs, the faster it's going to run the application. But definitely I'm not using here a spaceship machine or device or something like that.
And what will happen if I do need a little more cleanness for the image? If I need an image that will be cleaner than this one, what could I do? Do I need to relaunch the render, or what will I do at this moment?
Well, at this point, we can specify if we want to apply more time, for instance, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, or if we want to achieve a higher sampling level. Take a look at here, we're in sampling level 9.41. Let's say that I say, okay, I have extra time. It's not very useful, but let's say that I want to achieve a 12, for instance. So if I hit render, I have the option of resume the render. Resume the render is really cool because it means that Maxwell is going to pick up the render in the point that it left off the render. It's not going to do the render from scratch. So at this point, Maxwell is going to begin from 9.5 in the point that I actually left off the render. It's going to save this MXI file that we have here, the Maxwell proprietary image format. Of course, we have a bunch of different options for the output: EXR, HDR, TIFF, PNG, TGA, JPEG, whatever.
And this is great. You can stop the render and send it to your supervisor, and if everything is okay, you can resume the render from the exit point where you stop it, and Maxwell continues cleaning that image without the need to relaunch the render again and waste the time that you previously used in that initial render.
Usually for a very simple scene like this, sampling level about 12 should work fine. For simple scenes, something like 10, 12, maybe 14 uses to work very, very well. While more complex scenes, they can take 1 or 2 extra sampling levels. The speed of the process depends on a lot of factors, among the complexity of the scene, the lights, and the materials, and the benchmark value is pretty much like the speedometer of the performance. As this value rises right here, this benchmark, the performance is going to be faster. Once again, at this point, you will have noticed that the physical sky is set by default. We can choose between different options for the environment. Let me scroll down here, and here is where we are going to find at least these 3 different options: physical sky, sky dome, or none. In the case of none, we can add our light source right in the scene, and we could also apply an image-based lighting that we will take a look in detail a little bit later. So in this case, I'm going to disconnect I'm not going to use an image base for this scene. I'm going to disconnect the sky options as well. So at this point, I have not any
lighting in the scene.
Any light in the scene. That's correct. So if I hit a render, actually, let's do it. We're going to get an error because there are no lights in the scene. You can see it right there. How can we have lights apart from the environment? Well, it's pretty simple, exactly the same way as in real life. We can add geometry, even the RealFlow RenderKit mesh geometry as well. And at this geometry, we can add light source.
Yeah, this is important. This is how Maxwell works with light sources. Instead of using 3D lights that are commonly used in our 3D applications, point light, linear lights, direct lights, and things like that. Instead of that, Maxwell use the physical approach, the real life approach, that is having an actual geometry and applying to that actual geometry an emitting material to that surface. So if you want an area light, you just have to model a plane position where when you want and apply a Maxwell material emitter material to that surface.
Okay. In this case, I have created these two planes right here, and for instance, we're going to apply a new Maxwell material for this guy, and we're going to hit right here. We're going to have a light source, and we have a bunch of standard lights or standard parameters for the real world lights. Directors of photography, they do love dealing with Maxwell because you are talking to them in the same terms, okay? So in this case, let me add a superfluorescent lamp, for instance, 65 watts. And I'm going to select this outer plane, click over the Maxwell add material, Maxwell new material, and I'm going to add a new emitter to this guy as well. Okay, in this case, I'm going to select this one, for instance. It's going to be a little bit weird, but it may work. So in this case, we have applied these two stars of light. And take a look at this. This is what it happens in real life. We have a huge scene with not too much lights, just roughly 60-65 watts per light. This is what I'm going to get. Exactly the same as in the real life. We can deal with the values of ISO, for instance, in a scene like this, 1600 probably should work, okay? And maybe just a little bit slower shutter. So just in a couple of clicks, once again, you don't need to deal with strange values for the lights as well. Let me stop this guy.
And also interesting that you are readjusting the exposure of the camera during your render. So if your image is getting too dark or too bright, you don't need to come back to Maya, readjust the camera's exposure settings and relaunch the render again, wasting your time. Instead of that, you can perform this adjustment during your entire time or even after the render has stopped. So it's a very interesting time saver.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just playing a little bit with this scattering value here to add some blooming effect over the lights. And once again, when we have these sort of changes or tweaks afterward, just once again keep in mind that we are dealing with the Maxwell image proprietary format, and in this case, you don't need to re-render from the beginning. You don't need to re-render from scratch. Okay, so let me show you guys a very, very cool feature that we have here, which is multi-light. Let's say intensity, for instance.
Yeah, multi-light is one of the most famous features in Maxwell, and it is revolutionary, in fact.
Let's get back to 1600 and maybe 500 for the shutter. So, okay, as the render is going on, and the thing is that I can easily and independently tweak the values of the intensity of the light, for instance. Let's stop the render. It's not necessary that we can, even with one, we can keep it alive. Let me resume the render. So while the render is stopped or is still being processed, I can, for instance, take a look at this preview window here. I can disconnect this light from here, and boom, in the next sampling level, Maxwell is going to achieve this new scenario that I have been dealing with it. So let me do the opposite thing, and 7, 6, this is the time for the next sampling level. Remember, we are sampling level 8. Now we're going to achieve the 9, so boom, the lighting has changed because I have changed these sliders.
And while you are changing the sliders, you also can interactively watch the result in the small preview window. We are displaying that like that just to avoid slowing down the render process, but you watch interactively the result as you are tweaking the sliders.
Yeah, I have the ability, for instance, if I have made some changes in the camera, in my camera, I have changed the f-stop and the ISO. I can import these settings or not, depending on the, well, if I want to import the settings that I did during the render. So once again, this is very cool. We can, if we want, we can hide these objects here from camera. I'm going to select this other guy, and let's try a new material. For instance, let's make a I don't know, carpet. Okay. So in this case, I have disconnected the visibility of the planes. Okay. So let me add, for instance, higher ISO and a slower shutter, and boom, we're done. So okay, let me get back to another Maya scene. We're going to begin to deal with much more complex materials. And in this case, we have the geometry of this plane right here. I'm going to set it to wireframe because, well, actually it's an important number of tries. We're talking about 1.2 million tries. And in this case, I'm going to build a RealFlow mesh. I'm going to close the previous RealFlow scene, and I'm going to come here, and we're going to deal with a RealFlow RenderKit mesh. For instance, let's say that I have a bunch of particles right here, SPH particles in this case, and roughly the frame 59, something like that. I'm going to once again have a RenderKit mesh. Okay, and so in this case I'm going to deal with these values here. For the first of all, for the auto polygon, I'm going to say yes. I'm the biggest fan of this feature. As this is a very low scale, I'm going to set this guy to 16, and I'm going to use slightly the filter with a very low value, something like 0.01, and maybe 16 steps. Usually the default, by default, to begin is these values here, 0.1, 0, 64. But in this case, I'm going to decrease drastically these values here. And also, I'm going to deal a little bit with the radius. I have been playing before with these values, and we're going to set this to 0.092. Okay, let's hide the particles, and let me show you guys the mesh that we have here. Let me hide, or let's say the geometry bounding box, or even disconnect. Okay. And
the mesh is cool.
Yeah, the mesh is cool, and the thing is that it's achieved in roughly, I think, 1 second, right? Boom. It's just build, boom. It's really nice, but we can even improve this mesh a lot. Let's get rid of all of this clutter, all of these small droplets roaming around right here. Let's get into the core value, and we're going to filter a little bit. Let's say something like 0.0, 0.1 or 0.08. Build, boom, much more cleaner, much more less amount of faces in this case. So that's with this mesh. I'm going to take this mesh. I'm going to grab this mesh inside my scene. Once again, I'm going to come here and not the SD file. Sorry, I'm going to import the mesh and let me say, okay, it's not necessary to click on any specific frame. And let me adjust the scale of this guy 0.1 because I actually changed the I changed the scales.
This is just about the relationship between the scale units in RealFlow and in Maya. So it's just a matter of rescaling the objects if your units were different in RealFlow than it were in Maya.
Exactly. So let's go to the frame 50. Let's begin because I apply the this core filter. I apply only to the 57. Let's say that I want advance a little bit. Let's rebuild the 59, for instance. Okay, let's get rid of all of those droplets. So in this case, if I, for instance, if I, there we are. Exactly. Okay, here is our geometry, our nice geometry. I'm going to, once again, I'm going to set this guy in wireframe. So roughly, the thing is that we can once again apply Maxwell Materials to the mesh and the brain. If you're wondering about all of these materials, I'm going to recommend you guys take a look at the best point to get started with Maxwell Render, which is our website. Go to support, go to tutorials, and here in materials you will find this amazing video of Mike Berta, just roughly in 40 minutes or something like that. You're gonna be a Maxwell expert. I mean, Mike explains very well, very clear, and very warm way, the way of dealing with Maxwell Materials. So definitely this is one of the best points to get started.
The user from the beginning can use the wizards or the materials that are built in with the Maxwell installation. For more materials, one can visit the community section and download the material from the MXM gallery that we commented before. And for more control over the materials, watching that video gives you full control of the materials and learn everything about the material definitions at Maxwell. So it's really intuitive and really easy to learn everything about materials using a tool like Maxwell.
Yeah, let me apply another material for the brain. Let's say something like that, pretty much. Okay, and let's keep the render. If you're wondering about the lighting of this scene, just basically 3 planes, 3 light sources, and we're done. Actually, I think that pretty much we can obviously adjust the focus of the camera if we want to use a manual focus distance or something. Okay, so just let me launch another render. It's a very huge, let's say that we're talking about 1.5 million. Pretty much, something like that. So once again, I mean, this is probably not a production render, but definitely to take the idea in a roughly 15, 16, 17 seconds, you get the idea of how the render is going on. Probably the plastic is of the brain is very nice. Definitely the material of the mesh is very tweakable. We can deal with additional complex controls. We can add much more roughness. We can add even sorts of scattering or other complex
features.
Things that we want, yeah, other complex features that we want to deal. But keep it simple, especially for all of you who are beginning with Maxwell. Keep it simple and go step by step, learning the fundamentals of Maxwell render.
At least in the first attempts, because Maxwell, one of its key points is that it can handle things with a high amount of complexity. As things can grow up in complexity, they're starting with Maxwell is always recommendable to begin with very simple things, obviously.
Yeah, important to finish this part is to mention about the output channels that we have right here. If we want, for instance, if we want to mask, you know, if we want to apply, if we want to mask the mesh, or if we want to mask the material, or if we want to have we want to run vector path because we want to add motion blur or alpha, whatever. Obviously, we have a different bunch of outputs and passes that, if you want to use for composition purposes, you are able to do that. And Maxwell is going to take the render all along. And if I just pass over here, then you see as the render is passing by, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. So in this case, there you are. It's very, very useful.
Masks per object, max per material, alpha channels, Z buffer, shadows,
kernel. I'm going to go straight forward to the next thing. This is pretty much what we have here. Is a just a couple of geometry objects. We have the ring that it has been simulated in RealFlow, actually, the dynamics that you can see right here. Okay, if I scrub all around the timeline, you can see the ring right here, and it's dynamically simulated. It's a rigid body, an active rigid body, and it's going to be affected by some gravity, and it's going to collide over the bottom of this glass, this proxy geometry right here. We also added a bunch of particles, and what we're going to do is to work with this geometry, and we're going to take a very, very quick look how to build that example that we previously could see. So in this case, I'm going to select the ring, and once again, I'm going to click over the Maxwell material, and we also have the wizard to create metals. So I'm going to select metal and then gold. Maybe something like 20% of the roughness will probably work for me. If I hit the preview button, I will get this proxy right here, and I'm going to add a glass material for the glass itself. I'm going to click over the material creation, and once again, I'm going to use the wizard, and in this case, I'm going to select the glass. We have 3 different levels: frosted, low grade, and high grade. Frosted is pretty self-explanatory, and low grade is suitable for things like bottles, low or poor quality glasses.
Low quality glass, yeah, you're right.
And definitely the best, the suitable, appropriate glass for this case will be the high grade material. So in this case, I just, in a few clicks, just roughly 6 clicks, I have created the materials for my scene. We have the glass, and we have the ring right here, and nothing else. We have the default physical sky. We don't have to deal with reflections, refractions, or something like that. It's all in. It's everything right in
it's enough.
Important to notice that the wizard helps you with creating the material you want, but it is not closed. You can open its structure in the material editor, and you obviously can change any parameter that was imported there using the wizard. So you can go there and you can change the color, you can change the darkness, you can change any of the parameters of the material editor. Using the wizard doesn't limit you in anything of the adjustment you want to create in your scene.
Yeah, once again, my friends, all of these parameters are exactly the same in all the 3D platforms. So for instance, if I want to add some condensation to the glass or something like that, I could add a bump map if the glass is with its UVs completely unwrapped. And I could add some very, very cool areas with a something like a bump map or something like that. So for instance, if I want to achieve the result that we previously could see in the animation, pretty much something like that. Okay, what I'm going to do is to change the environment. As I told you before, we have basically default physical sky. We're going to disconnect this physical sky. We're going to set to none, and we're going to use IBL. We're going to use an HDR to light our scene right here. The HDR, we can open Maxwell Render to take a look at the HDR. I'm going to browse to the webinar champagne, and this is the HDR that we have here. This HDR is huge, it's really huge, but I told you that I'm telling you that this HDR map is built with HDR Light Studio, which is a very, very, very nice application to build your own HDR maps. I'm absolutely in love with that application. And what is important right here, what I would like to point is that we're going to play with these contrast areas here, especially with these ones. These three soft lights here are extremely important right in front of the glass, and we're going to deal with these high contrast areas to remark the profile of the glass. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect I'm going to make sure that the physical sky is disconnected, and I'm just going to run using the HDR map that I previously saw you. So,
as a handy tool, you can apply the same HDRI map both for background, both for refraction, reflections, and illumination, or different versions for those. So it is interesting that you can tweak and use different versions of the map, or even different maps in all those 4 channels, or the most common use of them is using the same map for the 4.
Exactly. So let me take a look through the Maxwell RenderCam that I previously created. And if we launch a render here, we pretty much will have what we see. Once again, those high contrast areas are going to be crucial to define this profile. These dark areas here are coming directly from those areas. So
take a look at that quality of that glass in just a few seconds. It was about 20 seconds or things like that. It is amazing how cool 30 seconds and you get that cool quality from the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, I'm going to add some fluid stuff right here. Let me show you guys the fluids that we're going to prepare for this scene. Okay, the first one is pretty simple. It's just a fill object of a container, and is going to react with the ring right here. What is important to define these sort of jets right here. What is very, very important is to apply a certain mass to the ring. In this case, if we take a look at the ring, the default mass, I think it was something like 2 or 2 point something, and I just cranked this value to 10. So the higher is the mass, the more powerful will be this plus this jet right here. Okay, so let me show you guys the fluid. In this case, I'm going to hide the ring, and in this case we're going to use the measure. In the previous cases we used the RenderKit mesh, but right now we are not going to work directly with geometry, we are going to work with particles. So we're going to use the RenderKit measure. How do we do that? Very simple. In the Maxwell tab, we're just going to click right over here, and automatically the bands of particles will be drawn like these particles that we have right here will be drawn like a mesh. Actually, if you want to check, or if you want to take a look at the values of the mesh, basically we're going to work with, in most of the cases, we're going to work with the radius and the polygon size and smooth, and once again the filler, depending on your needs or not. If you want to take a look in detail these values, I'm going to recommend you guys to take a look at the Maxwell and RealFlow integration documentation that we have right here, for instance.
This is our online documentation wiki system. So rather than having the Maxwell documentation or the RealFlow documentation inside a PDF, we do prefer to move that into an online wiki system. So it is always available, it is always updated. We work to get this information always update, and you don't need to come back and read the PDF manual and things like that. Yeah. So it is always available for you.
Okay, so we're going to click on extensions, and under extensions we're going to click on RealFlow integration, and here you will find a detailed explanation of every single value and its appropriate functionality. And so you can check how the particles or the measure work. In this case we're going to use the measure. So we're going to add some bubbles to this scene, and for that purpose I'm going to use the particular. We saw that the measure was going to build mesh over around the fluid particles that we were dealing with, and in this case the particular is going to render all of these particles right here as analytic spheres. So in other words, if I render these particles as very, very small spheres right inside the fluid, right inside the champagne fluid, I'm going to show the rest of the elements. And let's go to take a look, for instance, in a frame pretty much like that through the Maxwell camera. So I'm going to hit render right here, and you will realize a very, very nice approach of the initial scene that we wanted to create. This is fantastic how the ring is entering the fluid, is really dragging all of these mass of champagne just going down here. So this is pretty much the setup that we have. Let me show you guys one more example with the jets over there. And what is really, really interesting is that Maxwell is physically correct. It works exactly the same as in real life. So if Maxwell tells you that the ring is right over here and we cannot apparently see it, if we could make this, if we could mimic the same scenario in a real life, you will probably notice that for the action of the refractions, the effect will be very, very similar, probably the same. So,
on the first example you show, the one with the brain and things like that, there was a triangle mesh, a triangle object itself, and now this example is pretty interesting because it includes all of the fluids are particles from RealFlow that are being meshed in render time in the case of the champagne liquid, and in the case of the bubbles, those particles are being rendered as small spheres on render time using the Maxwell particles extension. So it is interesting that you get render the fluids with all these approaches.
Definitely. If we want to add some condensation to the material, as I told you before, we're going to work with a bump texture, very slightly applied, very, very slight value, just 0.5. The default is something like 20 or something like that. So we're going to work with a texture pretty much like that. And in this case, the scene will be completely done. Something very important that I also want to tell you about is the action of the resume, the facility of resuming renders. For instance, the Maxwell renders always keep alive. What this means? It means that if we have been developing a determinate sample level, like in this case, we're right now in sample level 6, 7, 5 minutes to 8, if we want to stop and we, for some reason, we just want to keep with this level of accuracy or with this level of quality, it doesn't really matter. We can export PNGs, TIFF, EXR, HDR, whatever we want. But if we need additional quality, just by resuming this render that we can do just from Maxwell or via the command line, it's not necessary to begin the render from scratch. We will resume, we will pick up where we left off, and definitely this is very, very cool.
This is great. You can stop the render and send the image to your client or to the supervisor, and if you get approved, you can resume the render and get to cleaner quality, to cleaner image.
Exactly. A very, very cool feature is the particle mapping. Particle mapping is a very nice way to add some texture or connect magnitudes to our particles when we are working with particles. For instance, if I apply a standard or a default Maxwell material and I hit render, you will notice in a few seconds, you will notice that here we have the particles as with this default material, pretty much like a Lambertian style. So I'm going to quit Maxwell, and how can we apply a texture to this bunch of particles? It's pretty easy. We're going to click over the RenderKit node, and we're going to add a UV channel. Okay, in this case, you will find this way. And I am going to define what magnitude or which one of these options I'm going to use. We can connect 8 or whatever. I'm going to set UVs. And in the Maxwell material, apart from the color, we can obviously add textures. So I'm going to pick up this texture right here. And as it's coming from RealFlow with an offset, it doesn't really matter because it's easily adjustable right here. Just by clicking on render, we have this very, very nice render as we could previously.
Yeah, it is interesting because it often happens that we don't want all the particles to have the same color or any other properties, but we want to map or any of the properties of the particles with a map like you did before in the case of distance to mapping.
Exactly. If you want to, not the champagne. If you want to take a look at the final result that we could previously show, this is pretty much what we will look at. Okay. Boom. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of things more. One is the easy integration with our pipeline. For instance, if we want to customize the output of Maxwell, we can execute Maxwell.exe with the flag minus with the flag +H, and we have all of these different features and all of these different flags to customize our output. This is pretty useful.
This is really useful in production environments.
Yeah, exactly, because you can add additional flags when you are going to work with your render. So if you have one centralized license in one server license, for instance, you can specify the license path, things like that. And finally, I also would like to mention the facility or how easy it is to deal with Maxwell with render managers. We provide a render manager tool. You can use your own render managers such as Cube, Rust, Deadline, the most popular render managers. Or if you want, you can use our manager tool. If you're familiar with the job manager, with the RealFlow job manager, it's very easy. You just open up a node, one single network manager per network, and Maxwell monitor right here. In the part 2 of the of this webinar, hopefully at the end of February, we will add some network jobs right here. So with this last cover, I'm going to get back to the connection to Kathy. I would like to thank you all guys your attention. And I think it's time to wrap up this webinar. We will prepare a handout with some files for those of you who are interested in taking a look in detail at some of these things, and we will contact you when it's ready. But I briefly recommend you, to all of you guys, play a little bit with Maxwell until the part 2 comes at the end of February. We will pick up where we were left off, and we'll take a look in detail at much more complex materials, techniques, subsurface scattering, diffraction. We'll be dealing with hybrido stuff. So take a look at the Mike Berta's materials video tutorial and the RealFlow Maxwell connection previously presented. And I hope you all get into the Maxwell concept, and that everyone who has been following us at least has a basic fundamental understanding of Maxwell. The fact that you can start with materials, emitters, environments to produce astonishing results from the beginning and explore into the Maxwell render capabilities. So, Dario, is there anything else that you like to add in?
Thank you, Victor. It was very interesting, and I hope everybody enjoyed this webinar, and I'm longing to join again in a few weeks to the second part of this webinar with more interesting and exciting features.
Okay, thank you very much. I had a great time with you guys, and thank you very much. And now it's time to get back to Katie. Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. They should be able to hear me now. I think, sorry, just close this in a second. I think Victor has actually pretty much said everything that we needed to say, so I'm going to wrap that up now. The next webinar is on February the 28th at the same time, and I think we've answered most of your questions but if we haven't, then I'm going to follow it all up personally. Thank you all very, very much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.